Robert Scribbler here with the OBX wave report on a pre-mild nor'easter Sunday. And earlier today, I was over at Kerala and got this shot of the waves there. They were in the range of about 5 to 8 feet breaking offshore. Very large gray swells in a cold North Atlantic March ocean today. And across the Outer Banks today, we have 5 to 8 foot waves breaking in most locations. And the big wave spot right now is Buxton at 10 to 12 feet. Over the next day, we expect a nor'easter to form off the coast. Nothing really strong, another mild nor'easter, and this will continue to push the swell up across the Outer Banks for tomorrow. And we're still expecting large waves through most of the next week. So looks like large cold waves throughout the week, and let's get into the broader weather and climate reports that we will conduct for you with the OBX Wave Report, where we look at all things waves, weather, climate, and beach lifestyle. And right now, for the United States, the two big weather features are a large storm system here in the east and a an atmospheric river pushing moisture in toward California off a warmer than normal Pacific Ocean and in a warmer than normal atmosphere for the northern hemisphere. And it does appear that California is continuing to get an excessive portion of the extra moisture that is being produced by a warmer than normal northern hemisphere with this atmospheric river still aimed at California and a series of storms moving in. And here in the east, we've got a very large frontal system with a coastal low starting to form off South Carolina. And this is going to help to develop our nor'easter for tomorrow. It's not going to be anything major according to the models, but nonetheless, we'll have a nor'easter type event for the Outer Banks. And looking at the geocolor composite, we do see the beautiful white cloud tops in association with this powerful storm moving toward the east. We have quite a lot of precipitation over the U.S. southeast and some snowy weather over the Appalachians and parts of western North Carolina and Virginia. And then here out west, we've got that series of storms continuing to move in through California. Looking at the enhanced cloud tops, you can see these storms riding in off the Pacific, a impulse moving over the Rockies, some snowy weather likely over Oklahoma, some storms over the Gulf, and trailing on up toward the eastern seaboard and northeast in association with that front. You can see the energy starting to transfer here offshore as the nor'easter begins to develop. And looking at the National Weather Service radar picture, we do have a lot of flood alerts up for California as that the atmospheric river continues to point directly at California, bringing in storm after storm after storm. And then for the east, we've got some cold weather advisories and possibly some winter weather advisories in some locations as the cold air sweeps in behind the front that is now moving across the east. And for the East Coast, we've got small craft advisories up and some gale watches up as well. Now going down to the local conditions here in the Outer Banks for surf. At Jeanette's Pier right now, we've got waves in the range of 5 to 8 foot. Very gentle north-northwest winds at 1 mile per hour, and likely a rather glassy type break, although very cold out there right now, with the primary swell coming in at 13 seconds at 6.5 feet, the air temperature at 53, ocean water temperature, air temperature at 43, ocean water temperatures at 50. And for the rest of today, we expect rain. The high today was around 45. Moving on down the coastline, and we just would note that we did see 5 to 8 foot waves up there at Kerala. There are some larger breaks, like Bathhouse right now, for example, is getting 7 to 8 foot waves. But anyone getting out in the surf right now is going to have to deal with some cold conditions. So please make sure that you've got your gloves, your booties, your 3-4 millimeter wetsuit, all of the things, because it's pretty cold out there right now. And at Rodant at this time, we've got 5 to 8 foot waves, winds coming out of the north-northwest at 1 mile per hour, which is an offshore flow, but very light. Primary swell coming in from the northeast at 12 seconds. That's a 6.5 foot swell. Air temperatures 44 degrees, ocean water temperatures at 50. And we have rain right now expected to continue through the evening, and the high today was 47 degrees Fahrenheit. And for our last location, for the local observations, we're going to go down to Buxton, and Buxton is definitely the big wave spot right now, with waves at 10 to 12 feet reported at Buxton. Winds out the east-northeast at 4 miles per hour. That is an onshore flow, very light. Primary swell coming in at 12 seconds at 7.5 feet. Air temperatures at 44 degrees Fahrenheit. Ocean water temperatures at 57. That's a bit cooler from yesterday. Just getting the influence of that rain and the colder air moving in having an impact on the ocean water temperatures. And then for the rest of the day and even into tomorrow, we expect rain, and the high today at Buxton was 46 degrees. Now, looking at the broader weather picture, we do have some colder air moving in, some below freezing temperatures up in the western portions of Virginia and North Carolina, threading on through the northeast, and with likely wintry weather, possible snows. Got that cold air sweeping down through the central U.S. and a coastal low forming here just off of South Carolina. You can see that warm air getting pulled into the coastal low as from the Gulf and from the Gulf Stream as the cold air moves in from the north and west, creating that confluence of hot and cold and moist and dry, which helps to typically trigger a storm. Thankfully, this particular storm is not expected to be too intense. And we do still see some warmer than normal conditions in the Arctic, but we don't have as much in the way of warm air invasions as we have over recent days. And you can see that warm Arctic invasion kind of petering out over the region just north of the North American continent, although we still have some cooler than normal conditions in the remnant cold region over parts of Canada, sweeping down in through the western and central US. And here we've got a bite of that colder air over the east, but warmer than normal air hanging out near the Gulf Coast particularly. And for the coming week, we do expect to see much heavier than normal precipitation out here in California, and rather heavy precipitation out here off the U.S. eastern seaboard, indicating a tendency for nor'easters to form. And this has been a hot spot for extreme weather here off the U.S. eastern seaboard. It's one of the reasons why we're getting such big waves here in the Outer Banks right now, and we do see that nor'easter tendency. It's worth noting that California is under the gun due to another atmospheric river pointed that way. So please stay tuned to your local weather and emergency management reports for flood warnings, watches, and other advisories. And please stay safe, guys. All right, so getting into the 8 to 14 day outlook, it does appear that the United States lower 48 is expected to be cooler than normal. And this is unfortunate. I was hoping for some warmer conditions, but looks like most of March is going to be cooler than normal. We do have a dip in the jet stream that's bringing in that cooler air, and it's starting to focus again on the west in the 8 to 14 day time period. Hopefully, we'll get some more warm air building up through the east and giving the Outer Banks warmer conditions. It does look like that the cold air is going to start to recede, so hopefully that will continue. And for the precipitation analysis, the 8 to 14 day outlook, we do have above normal precipitation for most of the United States predicted. All right, and then looking at the convective outlooks for the next 3 days, we do have a slight risk of severe thunderstorms for the Gulf Coast parts of Florida in association with that front moving on through. For tomorrow, marginal risk of severe weather, severe thunderstorms for Florida. These are like supercell, tornadic, hail type events. And then for day 3, we don't really have much in the way of severe thunderstorm activity expected. Now, looking at the global forecast system model, I do want to show you the tendency for nor'easter formation off the Outer Banks and off the US East Coast. Nothing really major in the models recently. We're going to go ahead and run this model. I haven't run it all the way, so we'll see what it has in store. And then for the West Coast, we have a series of storms rolling in due to that atmospheric river pointed at California. And for tomorrow, we did talk about the nor'easter. We got a mild 1,000 millibar low that's expected to bring 20 to 35 mile-an-hour winds across the Outer Banks, maybe gusts a little bit higher up to the gale force range. As the storm moves off the coast on Monday and then into Tuesday, we'll get the backside of that low, likely decent swell as the low intensifies again, uh, intensifying as it moves offshore and heads out into that central Atlantic intensification zone. And again, here in California, heavy precipitation expected as we get on into Wednesday. It's worth noting that the storm is expected to be rather strong as it hugs the coast of Maine and Massachusetts, parts of Vermont and New Hampshire and Connecticut, and Massachusetts all under the gun for possible severe winter weather on Wednesday. Here in the Outer Banks, we're likely to get another big swell from this storm. And it's worth noting that this nor'easter is expected to kind of bomb out here at 969 millibars late in the day on Wednesday, just offshore, before it starts to sink south and east toward the central North Atlantic on Thursday. And then as we get into late Thursday, we've got another impulse coming through the central United States where we get a clash of warm and cold, moist and dry. And this is the next storm system sweeping on eastward. Some severe weather potential for Friday near the Gulf Coast as a low develops near the Great Lakes, possible severe winter weather up in Michigan on Friday, according to this global forecast system model. And then the front slips eastward on Saturday with severe weather trailing through the Gulf Coast and then heads on offshore into Sunday with the next cold air push. And it looks like this frontal system is just going to sweep on offshore. So no major nor'easter event for the Outer Banks on tap, but it does look like parts of the Northeast are expected to experience some pretty severe weather over the next few days as the nor'easter forms here off the Outer Banks and then heads toward the Northeast. All right, so let's get down to the wave models and give you guys a summary of predicted waves for the next 5 days. And right now we've got a very nice situation when it comes to swell. Weather conditions are not great, but swell is fantastic with swells in the range of 6.5 to 9 feet in the near offshore environment. And this swell is expected to continue through tomorrow as we start to see a mild nor'easter begin to form with large waves in the range of 9 to 10 feet in the near offshore environment, significant wave heights in that range. And then into Wednesday, again, good waves continuing. Unfortunately, cold conditions likely as well, but waves ranging from 6 to 8 feet on Wednesday, so still large wave conditions. And then into Thursday, we're getting 6 to 7 foot wave conditions in the near offshore environment, mainly with more northwesterly flow here. And so, but then as we get into the day on Friday, do we get to Friday? Yes. So as we get into the day on Friday, let's see, this is the 16th. Let's make sure this is correct. Monday, 13. Okay, 16th is Thursday. So 15th. So this is Wednesday. And then into the day on Thursday, we continue to get that good swell coming in from the east in the range of 4 to 6 feet. And the winds, though, start to die out on Thursday. And then as we get into the day on Friday, I'm sorry, let's get back to the ocean because that's a day to day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, And I believe, no, we do not get into Friday. I'm going to tease this through to Friday so we can get a little bit of a forecast. So the waves will tend to die down as we get into the morning on Friday, but still a decent swell coming in from the east in the range of 4 to 5 feet. And the air temperatures on Friday are expected to be warmer as a high pressure system push up from the south, and we get relatively mild southwest winds blowing in early on in the day on Friday. So it looks like Friday actually might be a pretty good day for a surfing expedition with warmer temperatures. I won't say super crazy warm, but temperatures probably getting up into the low 60s in the southern beaches. And so we might head on down for a little bit of a safari on Friday. We shall see. All right, so in any case, it does look like we will see good waves throughout the week, this week here in the Outer Banks, but unfortunately cold conditions. So if you do want to get out into the water, please make sure that your wetsuit and everything else is good to go and you got your wet gear ready to keep you warm in those cold conditions. Nonetheless, waves are looking really good over the coming week. So thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report. And please remember to do everything you can to help speed the mass deployment of clean energy and thereby protect our coastlines from the impacts of climate change. We are just up in Kerala today, did a nature walk, and I just walked by a sign in the Kerala woods that asked the question if whether or not the Kerala woods would be inundated with water from sea level rise? And the answer to that question is mainly dependent upon how rapidly we deploy clean energy and then get to net zero and then net negative carbon emissions. And so we really, really, really need to get on the ball with mass deploying clean energy being wind, water, solar, and electric vehicles. We've got the technology, we can do it. We just need the will. So